talking point on this, well, somewhat of a dreary Thursday morning. It's interesting how the week started off so bright and sunny. I'm not entirely sure if I goat mouth the week. I apologize if my dreary demeanor and topics of conversation cast a proverbial dark cloud that turned into a literal dark cloud. Right now, I do believe in Port of Spain already there are signs that to some extent flooding is affecting traffic flows. I saw leaving the Savannah a pile-up of cars all trying to turn onto Richmond Street, which was causing a bit of an artificial traffic, I would say, because the rest of the Savannah is more or less, or was more or less quite clear, and other parts of the area around didn't necessarily seem to be that affected by heavy traffic. So I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was just some unique happenstance, or maybe it is the weather. I know leaving home, I was seeing the storm drains on the road out of my house. They were more or less already at capacity. So I am wondering exactly just how long it will take before flooding might occur. But maybe the rain is easing up, hopefully. Storm clouds on the horizon hopefully are clearing up. And thus we have another day in TNT. Now, to my considerable delight, I am joined today for the first time this week by my co-host. Of course, we were hoping for his speedy recovery, and we hope that his recovery is now complete. Of course, I am speaking of Mr. Keaton Shaw. Good morning, Keaton.
Good morning, Sean, and good morning to all our wonderful viewers here on Talking Point. Thank you very much for your patience over the last week and for holding the fort, as they say, as I recovered from a really serious infection. I was diagnosed with a lung infection and rather scary at times, to be honest with you, but thankfully I have good doctors and a supportive family, and though there are still mild symptoms that I'm suffering with, the worst is over. So I'm glad to be back, and not in studio as yet, but glad to be here nonetheless.
Well, I mean, folks, therein lies the lesson. COVID might be on a practical, widespread level, quote unquote, over, but it's still around. More importantly, there are other viruses, there are other flu-like viruses, including influenza. As you saw in our news on the hour just before the start of the show, there's an influenza vaccine for those who need it, because it's one thing for younger people, I understand, to get the flu, to get over it. But then, of course, for a lot of our viewers who are in the older category, as it has been told to me and in my own direct experience, for some people getting the flu could be a serious complication that could affect their life in unfortunate ways. So those who need it, consult with your doctor. If you are not sure, get the influenza vaccine. Now, with that said, Keaton, I wanted to spend this opening segment here just to deal with some things that has been going on with the crime situation. First, we have a clip there about the blame for crime. There's one part of what the gentleman says which is somewhat interesting. So let's play that clip to the viewers, and then we'll unpack what it is that I wanted to say.
All you want to blame youths for crime because the youths doing the crime? Is the big people to blame for the youths doing the crime? All you want to know how? Because it's all you leave we to do what we want. When we start to get all your mannish attitude, is all you leave we to do what we want and run the show and play boss. Now all you can't control the youths, all you vex. Where was the discipline? All you forget to keep discipline, and we big people, take back the youths. All you want to take back and lower crime? Take back the youths. Get back the discipline that was instilled in the schools. People can't discipline people in school no more, because the parent coming in the school like them know what it is the child is be doing in the school. All you had the children home for 2 years, and all y'all can't even manage the children now to go on back out to school. The teachers have to deal with that. Big people, parents, take back all your homes with the children and instill back discipline. We have no discipline because all you just leave we to do all you want, what we want. Yeah? Sorry to say, all it is vexed with certain community leaders, old school ones. But it's the old school community leaders what used to instill certain discipline and moralities, even when people like we in the street and on the corner, we can't do certain things how we want to do certain things. But all you get rid of all of them. The youths get rid of them. So now the youths who have no guidance of nothing, controlling things that they have no knowledge about. So, listen to what I say. Take control of your house before a little child control it for you in a way that is not proper.
So there's two things he said there, Keaton. One of the things he said was, hey, COVID, everybody was stuck at home, and now after COVID, going back to school, I do wonder, kind of putting maybe meaning to his words, but if this is where he was getting at, now all of a sudden, students that did not engage with teachers for 2 years, that was home for 2 years, we're not entirely sure how parents were able to discipline or not discipline while their children in that situation, because it wasn't ordinary, you know, who had to work or had work responsibilities, even if it's from home, etc., interfering with that. And the kids who were used to being home, now they're back out at school 2 years, the experience is different. Some of them this is their first experience, I think this last year, being in a secondary school environment with secondary school teachers. They're accustomed to just a primary school environment. Maybe that might have something to do with the violence in schools and the lack of respect for teachers and authority figures in schools. But then also he pointed out now for the hardened criminal side that a certain generation of criminals were more or less disposed of or deposed by a younger generation, and I do wonder if that's one of the reasons why we're seeing more willingness for more aggressive violence, and not just relatively speaking, the limited violence that we would have seen before as compared to like the Pennywise robbery in broad daylight, automatic fire. So 2 points he had to make. Ultimately speaking, it comes back down to discipline and guidance. Some of it not necessarily the best guidance, but still guidance nevertheless. Keaton, at the end of the day, do you think that we have taken it for granted that young people will walk the same straight and narrow that the generations before have walked?
I think to some extent we have. And I think to a great extent here in Trinidad and Tobago, we certainly have let down the youth. And also, to be fair, the youth have let down themselves. Because for an individual to make such a video and with the claims that they've made, I think the other side that they should also look at is the fact that the youth themselves, they haven't helped themselves to any great extent. Surely I would agree that households have let down the youth. I think we've become such a violent society, such a carefree and careless society that we actually have forgotten the value of the family. We've forgotten the value of the household. You know, you think about COVID-19 and a lockdown for 2 years, and families who have existed for 10 plus years were only getting to know each other and getting to learn each other's personalities for the very first time to that great extent. And that was simply because of force. You know, you're at home with your family all day for the very first time. You know, obviously, there is a mental aspect, a psychological aspect that I think we have not fully examined even as we've reopened up. So that's one side of it. On the other hand, if we were to remove COVID-19 from the equation, I also believe that we have so many idle minds and idle hands in Trinidad that they've lacked guidance and they've lacked discipline. Because as much as they say you can't discipline children in schools anymore, which to a certain extent is true, you also have to remember it begins within the household. And even if you sometimes look on the streets in Trinidad and Tobago, just take a walk along the streets, busy streets and whatnot, there's still a lack of parenting. Mm-hmm. And the way that some parents speak to their children or handle their children, it actually does not allow for discipline. It allows for resentment. That builds up resentment and anger some may take it out on the family or may take it out on society, sometimes in school. So there are many sides and many issues that you could associate with this one problem. But his video, though, speaks some truth. As I said, I think there's another side that's about youth letting themselves down as well.
Well, the flip side to that, Keaton, is youth aren't necessarily developed. They don't have the experience nor the mental development necessarily to potentially make the right judgment or decisions for themselves. They don't know. That's the whole point of you're not an adult until 18, and even then, while technically legally an adult to a lot of people, early 20s, you're still young and dumb, to put it bluntly. So are those expectations fair? Because some of these youths are falling into criminal activity in their mid to late teens before they even finish school.
I mean, whilst you raised a good point, I still think the expectation is fair. Because even if a young individual cannot or should not expect, which is a very unfortunate statement to make, the guidance necessary from within the household, youth can learn from youth. It's like in a secondary school system, for example. You will have youth that are disciplined. You will have youth that are studious. You will have youth that actually try. Whatever the circumstances, they will actually try. You know, and people are not born with hatred in their hearts or their minds. It's something that they develop and learn over time. I don't think anybody is born with any hatred in their mind. It's just, you know, environmental factors or experiences that will lead them down to that path. So anytime you enter a secondary school system, or at least when I did, you know, we were always told that, listen, you're now in Form 1, you know, you're going to learn not only from your teachers, but from your peers that are years above you. You know, we talk about Form 5, lower 6, upper 6, and even if it's not to that extent, you can still learn from those that are any year above you. It's the same thing that could apply within the primary school system. And that is precisely what I mean about youth letting down youth. The young man who made that video made a lot of sense. But at the same time, if he has the knowledge to make such profound statements, and need I say there are truth to what he's saying, he will also understand that he has a role to play. And if he could recognize that, as they say in Trinidad, these young men have become so whatless, or young ladies have become so whatless. If he can recognize that, he can also understand that he has a role to play in intervening and trying to help with this situation. You know, and there are those who will not accept your help or will not want your guidance or accept your guidance.
Well,
but
meanwhile,
does that mean that we stop trying?
Well, meanwhile, just to weigh in very quick on a minor thing. Well, when I say minor, with regards to crime, Minister of National Security says that 108 firearms involved in criminal matters, were privately owned. Now, former Commissioner Guy Griffith, who, to be fair, might have some information on that because he was holding that position up to about July or August last year, he says, well, he thinks that the minister is looking at maybe 10 or 20 years. I'm not entirely sure exactly how true that is, although, again, the former commissioner might be in a position with the knowledge to make such a statement. My concern is more about the fact that, yes, while it's 108 firearms, only 4 of them, the minister said, were connected to murders. And we've had 500 murders for the year already. So I'm wondering if, yes, I get it, firearms are the boogeymen, but as Ashraf Ali, ASP Ashraf Ali said on the station, you know, at the end of the day, it's people who are killing people. So we've accounted for 4 out of, I think, over 509 right now. What about the rest? Not all were done with firearms, but a significant majority were. This statistic given to us, I don't think really matters, and I don't think the former commissioner, his points, his arguments also, I don't think it really matters. What really matters to me is the amount of firearms out there and the amount of firearms in its totality being used for murders and our inability to get any headway in the majority of those cases. Keaton, just your thoughts about that.
Well, listen, I'll be very honest with you. I think the need for the investigation into the FUL department of the TPS is necessary. But I also think that if we are going to have an investigation, we need to be absolutely clear with the statements that we're making as part of the investigation. And we should not share evidence or findings based off of our desire or wants. So for the minister to make that statement, he has to add context to it. What were the crimes? Were these crimes solved? How did we connect them to private FULs? What precisely the timeline did these crimes take place? But at the same time, I also see it, in my opinion, as a distraction, a political distraction again. Please excuse me. A political distraction as it pertains to the ongoing crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we're over 520 murders for the year thus far.
Right.
I think last year we were 350 plus, but look at where we're at now. And quite frankly, it is disturbing that we are constantly living in fear. And these are the statements that the Minister of National Security make, when you should be focusing on the fact that the majority, and a resounding majority of crimes taking place are due to illegal firearms in Trinidad and Tobago. Speak about the fact that how they're getting in. What is taking place at the port of Trinidad and Tobago? What is taking place with the scanners at the port of Trinidad and Tobago? Have we had any success with these super-fast vessels that you've got for the Coast Guard? What about our riverine patrols at night where these things are coming in, these illegal firearms? The major gun halls, are we destroying guns? What happens with them? So, okay, I agree. You need an investigation into private firearms into Trinidad and Tobago. But there's a lot more to it that the Minister of National Security may not want to reveal.
Mm-hmm.
If he's going to conveniently release information that has no context, then I fail to see the benefit in that.
Well,
other than politics.
From what I understand, the highest murder rate in the country has been 536. So if we're at 520, we're more or less there to top that this year. And then the real question I think no one has asked is, if this trend continues, will we see further rising of the murder rate next year beyond our expectations? But we'll have to take a pin in the conversation right now. When we return, we're going to get into a conversation about leadership here in TNT. Some statements were made last week, and it leaves a lot of questions with regards to exactly who do we have to look for and to look up to, and who do we have to select. We talk about elections, but who are we voting for in TNT? Stay tuned to Talking Point. Show Michael Small, Keaton Shaw. We'll be right back on your content capital, WESN.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Here's your chance to win a brand new Mazda CX-30, courtesy Movietown. Simply spend $200 or more at dbetstoys.com, Movietown, Port of Spain. Promotion ends November 12th.
Visit the store, you better shop online. You better call us now, I'm telling you why. dbetstoys.com is the Movietown, Port of Spain. Hey! Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andy.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white, and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Talking Point. And now for this discussion about leadership in TNT, we have with us a man who exclaimed that, in his opinion, well, there weren't any more true leaders in the political landscape. And here to give us a bit more details with regards to what he means, we have with us the man who said those words himself. Of course, I speak of the former mayor of Port of Spain, Mr. Louis Lee Singh. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, Sean, Michael Small, and to you, Keaton Shah. Keaton, it's good to see you rebounding, even if you have fatter cheeks than the last time we saw you.
Folks, we won't get into that conversation that was had off air. Like we said yesterday, our course always says the conversations off air sometimes are more interesting on air, but we'll leave it at that. Mr. Lee Singh, you said you don't see any true leaders. Now, I think it was an open statement, but the first thing I want to do is ask, exactly who were you referring to? Were you referring to the entire political landscape, any parties in particular, or segments in particular?
I was referring to all the political parties that are known political parties at this time. Because some people believe that being a rabble-rouser is leadership. Some people have a track record of success, which they don't even know how they arrived at that success. And that's what we're talking about. In the context of the current PNM's internal elections, I want to make it abundantly clear that Karen Teixeira Nunez is my choice for political leader, largely because I think Karen has leadership skills, but more than that, the PNM and the country needs a break from what is passing at this time to be the catch-up. And in like manner, the UNC needs a break from what is passing to be the mustard. Now, I think by standing up for your country, or standing up for your party, or standing up for the territory that you're in charge of, whether it's a company or a community organization, an NGO, or whatever, when you stand up for it, you stand up for life. And I think that is what Karen Teixeira Nunez is doing as we speak. She's standing up for the party, she's standing up for the country, and essentially she's standing up for life, life in the party, life in Trinidad and Tobago, her own life. And I sense when you are as committed as she is as it deals with this campaign, it has to do with the fact that she recognizes that she has a responsibility for which she must answer to. And that responsibility at this moment requires of her to step forward and contest the political leadership, win, lose, or draw. Now, let's look at the parties and look at the leadership and tell me what you see. When you do that, you could perhaps begin to understand where I am, the platform from which I speak. Who are the leaders? And what do they represent? What do they stand for? Are they left, right, or center? Now, if there are three leaders in the country, we have to count them at this time, because there are three parties that matter: the PNM, the UNC, and the People's Democratic Party.
Patriots, yes. The Progressive Democratic Patriots.
The people in Tobago, right? Now, it is not in that order in terms of any ranking, because conversely I could say the UNC, the PDP, PNM, and change it around, because I don't want people to confuse what I'm saying. What do these parties stand for? What do these leaders stand for? What does Watson Duke, who prides himself as being a top leader in this country, what does he represent? If you ask me what Augustine, sorry, forgive me, Mr. Augustine, what Farley Augustine represents, I can tell you that. I see a young leader, a young politician, who has aspirations for the greater good of the country that he serves. But more importantly, he has the greater good for the people of Tobago. And that's that. He has put that down in concrete based on my observations. If you look at the person who is supposed to be his political leader, he's all over the place. So what does he represent really? He is really representing himself. And while he may lure people to follow him, whether with the promise of money or fortune or whatever, he does not, as it were, offer this country's real leadership.
Well,
now let me go further. In the other two political organizations, do these leaders represent their own interests, or do they represent the interests of the political organizations they serve? And therefore, the question has to be asked, if they represented the organizations that they serve, what is the succession plan in these organizations?
I was now getting to that.
Because in most, for an organization to grow and live and breed and continue, and there be continuity, there must be a succession plan. You can't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry fighting for the pot. You have a responsibility to ensure there's continuity. And particularly in the case of the PNM, I see the PNM has put up a huge structure there on Tranquility Street. And I don't know where the money has come from, because I have been familiar with the PNM finances in the period just before this catch-up team. And I would like the PNM to explain to the public who is building the building, because there are now two buildings. There's now a new Balize house. No, there's a new building.
Right.
And there's a new, on the car park property.
Yes.
And there's a new Balize house. As I understand it, the General Secretary, Mr. Foster Cummins, is responsible for the construction at Balize House, and Mr. Rohan Sinanan is responsible for the construction of the other building. If that is so, where is the money coming from? Because right now in this election, they're not collecting party dues. You know, everybody could vote without having paid their party dues. And the party dues are very nominal.
Well,
so all these things tell me that who is going to inherit the responsibility of these debts? Because I don't know if there's some document written somewhere that if the signatories then are unable to meet the commitment in time, whether in fact those debts will be carried forward to the persons who hold the office. I don't know what is the transaction.
Well, Louis, I want to bring in Keaton on that point with regards to the succession, because Keaton, Louis implied a very interesting thing. The leadership of the THA, not necessarily the PDP, is significantly younger than the current leadership, and even some of the core senior members of the ketchup and mustard, to borrow his phrases. So we know that in 10 years, Fali Augustine will still be able to operate in the political landscape at his full ability. But the current leaders in 10 years, they might be too old and have to retire. What comes next for those two parties?
Well, you always need a mixture of youth and experience in any political party, at least in my opinion. But in the instance that I'm seeing now, if you use the example of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, that particular party and the Tobago House of Assembly, it's too soon to tell about any sort of who's going to take the throne next, essentially. But if I am using the United National Congress and the People's National Movement, the two main political parties here in Trinidad and Tobago, as an example, excuse me, the experienced have actually drowned the youth, in my opinion. They've brought in young minds. In some instances, they've brought in some very fresh, young, critical thinking minds with great perspective, whom unfortunately has just fallen for the political rhetoric of their leader, whomever it may be, to simply save their position within the party. And that should not be the case. So if you take a look at the People's National Movement, for example, what Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley did is that he cleared out a lot of Patrick Manning backbenchers and brought in individuals whom he thought would have been loyal to him. And I don't know whether or not they're loyal to him because of the infighting taking place within the People's National Movement. But certainly, those young minds within the People's National Movement, in my opinion, have let down the party and let down the nation, because they are not whom you would have wanted in any sort of leadership position. You give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'll give you an example. Shamfu Pujo, you brought in a young individual, a new mind, new perspective. She's done absolutely nothing. In fact, sometimes I wonder if it's best if she just stays quiet rather than make any contribution at all. it's a similar situation with the United National Congress. Because you have an individual like Saddam Hussein, whom, in my opinion, started off bright as a senator. But then and again, if you listen to him now, though at times he may make very valuable points, it's drowned by his allegiance to the political leader. So you need that mixture of youth and experience, but not if it is the youth are blind followers who are only in there to save their position, save their jobs, and if the political leaders are going to drown basically the future of Trinidad and Tobago, who then end up following the same stance or the same line, then what's the point? We don't have any sort of critical thinking, and need I say, democracy is very hard to see within some of these political parties.
I mean, yes, while I used to say, or I would have said that you saw a little bit more, there was a little less centralizing of power in the PNM than the UNC. For all intents and purposes, I think now it's safe to say, instead of 1 or 2 people, you have like 3, 4, 5 people. That's more or less the difference now, because that centralization of power means the young people have to appease the top. They don't really have any capacity to bring their own ideas to the table and show what they have. They just follow the leader.
Well, Sean, I don't want to go beyond this, because initially I had said, let's go beyond this. But in a sense, this is a crucial point to the development of our politics.
Yes.
We're looking to the parties to provide continuity in its leadership so that the country will grow with the parties. Whoever is in government, that these parties, because they are maturing and developing as we go along, would provide, as it were, a better quality of life for the citizenry. But what we are finding out and what we are seeing before our very eyes is that the parties have not been providing leaders for tomorrow. Really, there was a time when I was a young man in the PNM, and that's a long time ago. There was an effective and well-organized political school, party school in politics. And we had the benefit of having the only headmaster that this country has ever had, Dr. Williams. Everyone who has come after Dr. Williams have not even been a grade 3 teacher in terms of their leadership and their ability to man the affairs of the country. That's coming after Dr. Williams. I'm not talking about performance as Prime Minister, because I remain firm in my view that the best Prime Minister this country has had is Patrick Manning, in terms of his deliverables, in terms of the quality of the quality of characteristics he brought to the office of the Prime Minister. He represented prime ministerial material. Everybody else, and now mind you, there were times that Mr. Manning thought he could be the headmaster, but he really didn't have the groundings to be a fundamental like Dr. Williams. I never really heard Mr. Manning discuss the isms, which is interesting. I don't know that the current fellow there even understand the isms, and the same holds for the other side. Now, we want to find new people. Who are these new people, and where are we going to get them?
Well, folks, the conversation could go on, but we are more or less out of time on this segment. So we have to take a break here. When we come back, there's just a couple of other things, some ethical concerns that I have that I want to get my 2 colleagues to weigh in on. Hopefully we'll be able to touch on both of them. But until then, we'll be right back here on Talking Point on WESN, your content capital.
Whether it's your family meet and eat or your own personal getaway retreat, a business trip, accommodation, or a couple's celebration, the Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa has room for you. There's always sumptuous, delicious cuisine and the gym and tennis court for a good workout routine. Then relax by the pool or on the private beach, or just head to the spa. It's also within reach. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Tobago's best beach resort. For reservations, call 639-8571 or check our website.
Here's your chance to win a brand new Mazda CX-30, courtesy Movietown. Simply spend $200 or more at dbetstoys.com, Movietown, Port of Spain. Promotion ends November 12th.
Is it the store? You better shop online. You better call us now. I'm telling you why. dbetstoys.com is the Movietown, Port of Spain.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Good day, folks. Welcome back to Talking Point. And of course, I have with me my co-host, Mr. Keaton Shah, as well as the former mayor of Port of Spain, Mr. Louis Lee Singh. We don't have much time. I know you wanted to complete something from the previous topic, but just stick a pen on that because I kind of want to get through with this. I want to hit this first, and that is allegations have been made. There are allegations. I don't think we've necessarily seen documentary evidence that, well, the current sitting political party that makes up the government, they are using state media to broadcast political rallies. The allegation, the key point is being that payment is not being made for these broadcasts. And the question being posed by one Miss Marsha Walker, I believe, is that what would the rate be, if it is even allowed, for the UNC to also broadcast their political rallies on the state television channel TTT. Now, I would just like to point out that on one hand, we haven't seen evidence per se of what's going on, but the point is we don't necessarily know what's going on either way. Maybe the PNM is paying, we don't know. Well, they haven't, as far as I'm aware, responded to these allegations in any significant way.
Sean, well, I don't think it's in the PNM's interest anyhow, because very few people look at TTT.
So, but I mean, we're seeing. Why
are you laughing? This is a serious matter.
I mean, yes, because a lot of money was spent on TTT, so that and all is a very unfortunate indictment.
But I want to remind you.
A lot of state money.
And I want to remind you and publicly state that the last time a fellow called Louis Lee Singh was in charge of state media, it made a profit.
Well, but
against all odds.
But with that now, I mean, Keaton, I know that there's not enough information for us to really have a solid, definite opinion, at least to my liking. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen the government's response to these allegations. The allegations, I think, are serious enough that we can't dismiss them out of hand. We should be asking questions.
Sean, I am not prepared to waste my time on that, save and except that she has ample, as it were, tools at her command to take this thing forward and to have it ventilated and aired. And if it is so, somebody could be brought to book on it.
Keaton, should it be pushed further?
Of course it should be pushed further. In my opinion, it should not just be left by just a video circulating on social media. It needs to be pushed further. And the reason being is because though we have state media in Trinidad and Tobago through TTT and other various radio stations, state media should not be controlled or manipulated by those who sit on the thrones of government.
Well, make no bones about it. If you look at how the ads are shared up coming out of the government, TTT gets, if not all, the majority of it. And so the government is operating as if it is a private group with all the ministries having a responsibility to put all the advertisements on what they perceive to be the state-owned media, not understanding that the government has invested our taxpayers' dollars, which is to say, we who pay taxes, having worked hard, struggled, begged, well, we ain't stealing, beg and borrowing to make our ends meet. We have Gilbert Peterson, I think he's the man in charge of the Telecommunications Authority, or whoever is the chairman, I do apologize. If it's not Peterson, well, I don't know, nobody is saying who is who, what these days in government. But whoever is in charge of the Telecommunications Authority, they come and they harass us unduly to pay these fees and what have you, not understanding the times. But I do not know whether they're putting the same pressures on TTT, and if they are doing that, they should let us know. In more ways than one, the playing field is not equal in Trinidad and Tobago in these matters. But the point that the young lady has raised, I commend her for having the courage of her conviction to do that, because she is standing up. You remember where I said she's standing up for her territory.
Yes.
She's standing up for her country. She's standing up for standards within Trinidad and Tobago, which really means she's standing up for her life, and I simply commend that young woman. But I want to add to something that we need to talk about. Let me say to you, Trinidad and Tobago is a country where little or no focus is given to important issues, and this is an important issue raised by this lady. Who speaks of the state of the economy really in this country in a consistent and organized basis? Tell me who? Who speaks of the cost of mortgages in this country? The cost of loans? Who speaks to the inordinately and woefully cruel and criminal list of charges the banks impose on us as users of the banks? They're taking our own money and charging us for all kinds of things, services that they should be providing, right? But no one is speaking to that. No one is speaking to the price of fuel. They might raise the issue one day or so, but in the United States, people have lost elections because of the price of fuel. The recent midterm elections, people have lost. But in Trinidad, nobody's speaking on fuel. And who will address who's addressing the very high cost of government? Government should be far cheaper than they are offering it to us. But because nobody is pressuring this government about anything, they really believe they can do what they want, and they are doing what they want. The only thing we're focusing on in this country is murder, crime of a wide variety. You know, we have real crimes in this country, not regardless of what this fellow Jacob says. Regardless of what this fellow Jacob says, he is doing no better than his predecessor. Now his predecessor believes he did well, and he has convinced the whole world that he was a good commissioner of police. But I say today again, he was as bad as Jacobs. Now, let me finish. What are the other things we speak of? We speak about carnival. We speak of race. We speak about religion. What do our politicians, especially the young ones, the younger ones, speak of in this country? What is Saddam Hussein speaking of? What is Anita Haynes speaking of? What is Laurel Azama Leasing speaking of? What is Foster Cummins speaking of? He's the Minister of National national service and youth development. He should be speaking every day in the context of the difficulties young people find themselves in this situation. But you know why none of them can speak? Either in the mustard or the ketchup? Because if they speak, they will be beheaded.
Rhetorically.
They will, not rhetorically, they will be beheaded.
Politically.
Politically.
There we go.
And in that context, you think they want to be beheaded? You think they are prepared to stand up and be counted? You think they want to defend their territory because it means defending their life? They're not going to do it. And they're doing it. They all bow and grovel to the leader. And if the leader is no good, they are bowing and groveling for nothing. If the leader was a good leader and they felt that they had to toe the line and the policies were working and the country was doing well, I could understand that. I'm a good team player, I will go. But that is not to say I would not stand up in the interests of the country or the constituents of mine. You know, this fellow, when, you know, I really thought Gonzalez was going to be offered this country something. I'm disappointed in that fellow.
But I think it's the same thing. They have to toe the line.
No, they don't have to toe the line.
With WASA, you have to toe the line.
I want to tell you something. Robert Lee Hunt stood up.
Yes.
Today, Robert Lee Hunt has left here, and he is holding down a very comfortable position in an international agency in Washington.
Right.
I'm saying to you, stand up and when you see, when one person stand up and the guy head cut off, nothing happens if nobody else stands up. But if everybody else stands up and say, hey, Prime Minister, political leader, what you're doing here with Lee Hunt is wrong. The facts are A, B, C, and D. Let me say to you, Carl Hudson Phillips left the PNM because he brought a Public Order Act, which was the party rejected it. But he didn't leave at that point because the party supported him. He left when Dr. Williams asked people to sign an undated letter of resignation. How could I sign an undated letter of resignation? And whenever you feel the urge as a member of parliament, you just put a date on it and invoke it? We can't do that. So that's when people stood up to be counted. I'm saying to you, nobody stands up in the PNM today. Nobody, absolutely nobody stands up in the UNC. And in the other party, the political leader, he's on the run, trying to work out that, because the others stood up together. And they said, listen, you cannot abuse the office that you hold. That's what is going on here.
So, Keaton, I want to give you a chance to close. Just two things. One, Rudal Munilal, I believe he did bring up TTT in Parliament, so it wasn't just on the video that Ms. Walker put forward. He asked the questions. But then also, in the Senate, on the flip side, the UNC decided not to participate in an ethics committee. So we, as much as we would like to just limit our observations to one side or the other, we can't. It seems as though they both seem to want to kind of bring up questions on themselves at the same time. Your closing thoughts?
Trinidad and Tobago may have, put it this way, it's very easy for politicians in Trinidad and Tobago to get away. Politicians have saved themselves. And at least be on both ends of the spectrum right now, within the walls of Parliament, I'm not seeing any parliamentarians or any member of the government or any member of the opposition saving Trinidad and Tobago. Rather, every time we hear something come out within the media, it just dies. And it's very easy for politicians to survive in Trinidad and Tobago. But we may have mature political parties, and we may have mature politicians. We don't have mature individuals as politicians, or mature individuals within political parties. And quite frankly, this is why I'm saying the youth are letting themselves down, because we have a lot of bright, young minds, critical minds in TNT that can make a difference and do better. But then and again, if you're not red or if you're not yellow, then you have no chance. At least that's the thought.
That's the thought. Well, folks, we have news on the hour, so we're going to take a break for that. When we come back, of course, we open up the phone lines. We want to hear from you, the viewer. Listen, feel free to disagree or agree, but come with some good talking points here. Tell us why you disagree, and be ready if we, decide to push back on it.
I want to hear from young people this morning.
Well, I mean, hopefully they're not too reined in and stuck because of the weather.
Even the professor. I want to hear from young people this morning.
Okay, folks, we'll be right back here. News on the Hour right now.
Your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marquis Akers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Fire Service Association speaks out. Ministry of Health confirms 4 deaths thus far from influenza. Patharath slams government for cutting natural gas reserve. And internationally, deadly floods cause havoc in the Dominican Republic. Now for the details. Fire Service Association President Leo Ramkisoon says that the public servants continue to suffer with every decision made by the government. He said the workers felt slighted that no conversation was had, but rather the information published in the media first.
It's still a shock to us that clock has actually broken down, because we were, expecting, in the true sense of negotiation, some more dialogue. Remembering that we had basically 3 sit-ins with the CPO around the table, and then we had to find out via a media report that the matter was referred to the court. So here we are in the court, still trying to come to terms with the fact that this matter has been referred as a dispute.
The Ministry of Health continues to emphasize the importance of persons being vaccinated for the influenza virus. Health Minister Terence Yalsing again gave an update where he stated that 4 persons have since died from the virus.
346 cases some weeks ago. It is now 695 cases. So we now have 695 laboratory confirmed cases with 4 deaths. It's very easy to access it. The waiting time is less than 10 minutes. Go in, get your influenza vaccine against influenza A and influenza B.
Princestown MP Barry Patharath is questioning the government's policy to deny standby generators at TNTech, natural gas and fuel for their operations. This, he says, has resulted in several power outages recently across various communities. The opposition Shadow Minister of Public Utilities expressed his shock on hearing from TNTech General Manager Kelvin Ramsuk that TNTech simply could not afford to purchase natural gas and other fuel. He calls for a full explanation on this issue. In international news, at least 6 people have been killed after torrential rains caused havoc in the Dominican Republic. On Friday, some areas of the capital, Santo Domingo, saw twice the monthly average rainfall in one day. Meteorologists said that while they had been aware of the heavy rains approaching, they had been surprised by the strength of the southern downpour. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marquis Akers. Thanks for watching.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Talking Points. Of course, thanks to Marquis Akers for News on the Hour. And now is the time. Well, before we open the phone lines, just a brief recap. We spoke today with regards to the crime situation. Gentleman on social media, he pointed out the fact that the big people, as he put it, they weren't disciplining the younger people. They weren't showing them the correct way. And that actually led quite well into our talk about leadership in TNT, because with regards to our political leadership, in the two traditional old guard parties, we're more or less seeing not so much the problem of lack of discipline, but rather suppression, you could say, with regards to younger people and their independence and their ability to bring forward new ideas. But then also, we just pointed out very briefly two questions with regards to the ethics of our political parties. One, a question was posed, are they taking advantage of state media and getting free broadcasts, political broadcasts, mind you? The other, not involving themselves with a Senate Ethics Committee. I understand that, you know, one party might not trust the other, but if you're not willing to be the one to take that step to act in good faith, let the other side be the one to have the breakdown and to make the mistake or to make the bad judgment. I always question the opposition when they just off the bat don't want to participate. And with regards to something like an ethics committee, are you saying that you're leaving it up to the government and the independent senators to do it with no participation for yourself, and then you're going to complain that you have no say? I don't like the look, and not just because we need someone to look over the government, but also the independent senators themselves. I'm not always entirely in agreement to the stances that they take. But therein lies to show what we had, the overall topic of leadership and the implications to our young people moving forward. Want to hear now from you, the viewers. What do you have to say? We have with us former Mayor Louis Leasing. He had some very pointed remarks with regards to some very important topics. Do you disagree with what he had to say? Call in. We might disagree. We don't take it personal. We don't look to make anything personal. We want to have healthy discussions and debates, and that, of course, means talking about complicated, important topics, like adults being able and willing to hear from the different perspectives. Call in. Let us know what you have to think. In the meantime, gentlemen, because, you know, usually we do have a lull. We wait for calls. I want to encourage people to call in early. Don't wait until about 9:15, and then all of a sudden the phone lines are jam-packed. This morning now, just with the crime situation, you mentioned that you don't necessarily think that the former commissioner, he did a hell of a job convincing people that he did a good job. But why is it that we can't even seem to get that from the rest of the politicians? They're not even trying to convince us, Louis, that they're doing a good job effectively.
No, they probably are trying, you know. But if you're putting all the spend on TTT, we won't know. If you're speaking to your party faithful, we won't know. What we want are regular briefs. What we want are not, as it were, managed briefs. We want every minister to stand up and speak. I remember as the mayor of Port of Spain, at the end of every statutory meeting, once a month, I would make myself available to the media. Mm-hmm. But more than that, whenever the media needed to have a question answered, they came to me. Now, bear in mind, I wasn't, I wasn't looking to not be beheaded because they beheaded me. But I certainly felt that it was important to do the job. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether people put doing the job and working and serving the people of Trinidad and Tobago as a priority item.
Well, we have a caller from El Socorro. Good morning, caller.
Yes, morning, sir. There is a mistake that was made. I wouldn't say it's a mistake neither, but it seems so. Mm-hmm. It is said that this government, now I am neither UNC nor PNMS, so don't get me wrong. I just watch the politics on a particular level with reason. That is what I like to do. I don't pick up for party or personalities. Now, Mr. Lee Singh said earlier on that this government is using the TTT for their own purposes, what we should call campaign or whatever it is. But it's the same thing that was happening under the UNC. Under the UNC, nobody outside of the UNC could have got on TTT.
So,
and these are facts.
Well, it wasn't TTT at the time.
No, but Sean, yeah. I buy that point.
Yes.
I hear that.
Yes.
But I want to say to you, the reason why it continues is because nobody has stopped it. Mm. And I am saying to you, the time has come for that nonsense to stop. The Trinidad and Tobago has too much media, too much free media, independent media. For any government to believe it has to take our taxpayers' dollars that could be utilized for other things and prop up an organization that has failed.
I agree with you, Mr. Lee Singer, but wait, I agree with you. But for you to say that it started now, I am saying this is not true.
Yes, yes.
No, we never said that.
Mr. Lee,
I never said that.
And you agrees with the point. You remember you said that you hope the UNC will follow that trend.
No. I think, Sean, you said that. But, all right, be that as it may, the matter rests. Do you agree with do you agree with me that it must stop?
Of course.
Point raised.
It should have
point
never
made.
happened from the beginning.
Yes.
Right.
Now, let me go a little further back.
Quick.
You see all this bacchanal and the politics that's going on now? You know where half of that started? And again, don't feel like picking up anybody. You know where half of that started? And all this bacchanal that is going on in Parliament right now. You know where that started? You remember Vanilla and Topton under the UNC? You remember that?
I want to say to you, hear me. I want to say to you again, somebody has got to stop it. Because if you don't stop it, it will continue in perpetuity.
But quick, what is the point you wanted to make?
No, he's saying that Vanilla and Ms. Toppin, she came to the parliament and said some really absurd, ridiculous, crude, vicious things about Dr. Rowley. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he's saying that the reason why there's confusion in the parliament of this nature is because of her.
Yeah.
I am not buying that. Because I'm saying to you, my expectations of the PNM, certainly the one that I knew and I grew up in, was that we were a little above the cut.
Okay, caller, I'm sorry, but we're more or less out of time there.
I understand what you're saying, but I hope you get the point.
I think I do, caller, but I would just say I think that what the last point you made, I think that's more of a symptom than a cause. I think the cause is more embedded in our political structure. But, I mean, that's where we differ. We do have a caller.
Hello?
Caller from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that situation with the police commission.
Okay.
I think Gary Griffith probably is a better politician than the current politician. Because while he was at the police as a commissioner, while he did make some initiatives, statistically, the performance of the police service was not much better than what it is. And then currently you have a situation where he's taking whatever legal action to prevent whatever report because of political interference in the process. Mm-hmm. But he is presently the head of a political party. You don't even have the principle to say, well, let me resign and then get this work and see what happens. But you're going for the job of commissioner as a political leader, but you're complaining about politics in the process. So what kind of mindset is that? You know, I mean, and the country needs to have these guys accountable. He was a politician, political leader of a party.
I think this caller couldn't put it better.
That the requirements are you're supposed to be apolitical.
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yes.
You have put it succinctly, and I do appreciate your sentiments.
Thank you, caller. I think we underestimate ethical conflicts of interest or conflicts of interest in this country. I know both the government and the opposition, when they win government, they've had those questions and they try to downplay it.
We don't underestimate it. They underestimate our understanding of the nonsense.
Louis, what did you say? Someone has to stop it. The country has not really put an effort to stop it. Therefore, the collective
I want to say to you, because there are no mechanisms to measure how the country feels about that. In other more developed societies, you have ongoing polling about the commissioner and what he said, the former commissioner. We don't poll.
We have a caller from Manzanilla. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I would also like to endorse what the previous caller said. It was actually one of the points that I wanted to raise. But I do have something to raise with Mr. Lee Singh concerning the NLCB. So I have been trying to follow this program to find out or to listen to if you have anything to raise about what is happening at the NLCB. I think since you were last there to now, the NLCB has changed tremendously.
For the better or worse?
You would have a lot for worse. I could say that boldly. I would really like to hear what you have to say about what is happening in the NLCB. Perhaps not today, but if you are back on the program at some other time. Thank you.
Point noted. But I really wouldn't want to comment on that because I don't have the information.
Right. You might have heard some rumors, but you don't have.
I hear the rumors and I see what is going on, and former staffers call me and staffers call me and things like that. But that is not my remit at this time. But if those things are true, there are mechanisms to stop it. For example, as I understand it, and this is an important point, as I understand it, the current board is actually running the board. That is a statutory board. I understand that the current board recently sought to employ somebody from the private sector to come and put them in to run the thing. That can't happen. Right. It's a statutory board, and it was set up so for reasons best known to the people who set it up.
Do we have Petit Valley?
I like how you're suggesting that you don't want to talk about it, but then you comment on it. I just like to say though that
I really didn't want to talk about it. Forgive me.
Everything that has been raised, gentlemen, it doesn't matter when it has started or who it ends with. The mere fact is, it can't continue. It doesn't make it right because somebody in the past did it.
Okay,
I didn't have the facts.
So we lost Petit Valley? Okay, we have Shagonas on the line. Good day, Shagonas. Good morning.
Good day, gentlemen. Not often I disagree with Mr. Lee Singh except when he's on your program. But he said nobody objects to these things with the government, and that is not true. In fact, many PNM people, Dr. Ryan was one of them. Most you have Karen, who used to do it, and you even have Lee Singh himself, who have done it. Right? So that is not true.
No, I think
the problem is
Professor,
very few people do. But they have some key people in doing it in Trinidad. And that is what we should be dealing with as far as I am concerned. As regards the indiscipline in the children, it's not the children. The entire country is indisciplined, starting with the government. And the proof of that is what I have said about annual administrative reports. Because they know it. Dr. Rowley said it, and he wouldn't do it.
We should really refer the NLCB question to this gentleman.
Repeat this.
I would like you to take up the NLCB question. I know you have a network of informers. Get the facts and call in, and we would discuss the matter.
We will make those arrangements. Thank you, Professor. We do have another caller coming up, Faiza Badowash. I had a comment to make, but I can't remember what it was.
That is good. Let's
get Faiza Bad on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
We lost him?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Lee Singh, this one is for you. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, were you feeling safer under the command of Gary Griffith, or do you feel the nation was feeling that sense of security under the command of Gary Griffith? Number one. Number two, I would like you to give us your take on Mr. Rowley's position with the email gate and what you think should be done, finding out that it was all false, which would have resulted in the fall of our government. Last but not least, I remember the transition from Power 102 to I-95.5, and I'm saying that with respect to the granting of the license, if my information is correct, within 24 hours. Is it because you were pro-PNM then that you were favored? I would listen off here.
I'm sorry I couldn't engage you. I can't say that I felt any safer under Gary Griffith as against the current fellow sitting in the chair. Largely because nobody has yet explained to me the death of a prisoner falling off a chair. The issues of the guys shot in Caledonia, and the list goes on and on. Secondly, with respect to email gate, that is a matter that explains itself, and the question is, will it be outside the statutory requirements where a next government coming in will not, as it were, bring the perpetrators of the email gate to book in a matter of court, as it were, charging them for misbehaving in public office. And finally, with respect to the award of the license to Citadel, Citadel was a functioning company that was operating under a license that was leased, but suddenly the politics of the government of the other side intervened and impacted the livelihood of our employees, all 35 employees, and the operations of the company. We did what anybody in our situation would do. We appealed to the government. It took us some time. We didn't just get the license in 24 hours. And so all these hearsay and what have you, from time to time comes up. But let me make this point. Concurrent with the award of our licenses were given to approximately 30 other people. If we were able to make a success of our license, don't hold that against me. The question is, why didn't the other 30 people do as well as we did?
I'll just also like to point out, sometimes you don't get a favor to get something you don't deserve. Sometimes you get a favor to make sure somebody else doesn't interfere after you went through the process.
But I will say,
I know of a case like that.
I will say this to you, that Citadel never, as it were, brown-nosed the government.
Right.
I was on record many times as being very public about my criticism of things that the government, whether it be the Prime Minister or a minister, was doing.
We have 2 more callers left, so we have to get through them. First from Diego Martin, good morning.
Hi everyone, thank you, good morning. Keaton, great to see you. Sean, I would like to go back to your conversation at the start between you and Keaton with children, because it ties into what Ms. Debatai said on Tuesday.
Yes.
I know in a certain school fight stopped when Mr. Bain or another adult appeared, but these children in these violent fights do not care about authority because they're the product of the lives that they're living, where nature, their genetic personality and nurture, their environment and relationships are not interacting positively to produce wholesome individuals. So for the 100th time, it's not being properly addressed by, as the therapist will tell you, cognitive behavioral therapy. We had Mr. David the other day of the NTTA also saying they needed more parental support in schools because of their recent PTA. There were like 40-something parents out of 900. That alone tells you the obvious. Parents have abdicated their responsibility to teach their children. Look at the mother's responsibility, the mother's environment as she's bearing her children. So just as Ms. Devatai said, it's a cycle. Multi-generational wealth, poverty, crime, and everyone ages 40 to 100 in this country should look in the mirror and ask certain questions, because the country is only reaping what it has sown. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. We have another caller quick from Pitty Valley. Do we have Pitty Valley on the line still?
Oh, well, I get too late this morning. I have a lot of topics, but I'll just choose one. I don't have the time to go to my...
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. I don't think it's our connection with regards to that.
Why are you apologizing? This is TSTT.
Well,
this is state
I
enterprise.
I know.
Thank you very much, Louis. Thank you.
Let's make no bones about it.
No, I feel bad for the caller because he finally got through.
Let's make no bones about it. Tremendous productivity and opportunity are lost in this country because of TSTT and Bmobile.
Okay, we have a caller.
Thank you.
From
Amplia.
Tunapuna. Hold on, guys. We can't take two more calls. Tunapuna, good morning.
No, let's take them.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I am very, very uncomfortable when politicians and even hosts using the term politician whenever their PNM is in power and doing this sort of nonsense. Why use a brush to call all of them politicians when you have a government that is performing so ridiculous and you want to take a brush and paint everybody as politicians? That's one. In respect of the radio station license, the Mahasabha had was to go all the way to the Privy Council to get a license for their radio station. So don't talk nonsense about everybody had a chance and everybody had a chance. The caller asked you as a politician if you weren't favored. Answer the question straight.
Thank you.
I thank him for his point.
Well,
his observations are noted.
I will just say this. We call our politicians because, hey, the government makes bad decisions and the opposition does not hold them accountable near enough. That's, the government is made of both sides. Quick, Keaton, because we have another caller.
I'd like to pose a question to that caller, if you'd like to call in tomorrow. Since you're arguing for the side of the opposition, 2010 to 2015, you have your argument, but you tell me, 2015 to 2022, what you think the opposition United National Congress has done for Trinidad and Tobago and has done for politics.
That's part of the government. That's part of the government.
You answer me that question.
Well, I know he wasn't referring to me because I often refer to the politicians as mustard and ketchup.
The last caller from San Fernando, quick.
Gentlemen, morning.
Morning.
You know, sitting down here, reflecting on my life in my 50-something years, how I have tried to, I have lived and I have tried to bring up my children to be respectful and to respect authority and to live the right way, and see a country deteriorating over these years. And I've tried in my own space to do something. Every time, that is how I live. We had a force, Mr. Lee Singh, that got 146,000 votes, but not one seat. And I have not seen anything of that force emerge after Mr. Dukaran's stupid decision to go after power rather than stick with the people.
All I can say to you, have hope. Keep that word in mind. Have hope.
Well, thank you. And one other thing quickly, Mr. Lee Singh. The fact that we had all these different callers this morning from all spectrums over of this country, you make another successful decision, don't study them.
Good. Now, I don't know what's the code. It's a coded message.
Okay, so we are completely out of time. I want to thank all of the callers that we've had.
Why we can't take a few more callers?
No, Louis, we are out of time.
Why can't we take a few more?
The schedule, Louis.
I think we should ask. I think we should talk to Master Control and see if we could take two more questions.
Louis,
Let's take two more questions.
I have to overrule your hair. I'm sorry, we're out of time, folks. I understand.
I'm so glad I'm via Zoom this morning.
Traitor. traitor. I will just say this. I want to thank all of our callers, including the ones that disagree with us, because we value coming to talk to us. That's not what we're seeing in the parliament right now. That is something that has to change. I'm sorry, Mr. Lee Singh, but we have to go.
So Keaton and I don't get a minute each?
No, because it's all the time.
Well, I don't know about you. I have to take my minute.
Take a minute. Take a minute.
Can I appeal to you, sir?
Yes.
You are the chairman of this meeting, of this program. Can I appeal to you, and I'm sure my friend Mr. Shah would support me. Could we take a few more callers?
No, we can't, Louis. We can't.
Please.
Your final word. Your final word.
We have Kitty Valley.
No, your final. No, guys, we can't.
All right,
We can't. I am sorry.
Folks,
I'm sorry, Mr. Pittivali. Call in tomorrow.
Sean, all I can say to you is that I am greatly impressed with your administrative talents, how you have been able to hold firm. And I can say, if you were in a cabinet, you will be an asset to the country.
Look at where you put them in.
Because more than that, not many people hold their ground on fundamentals, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. Keaton, you get 30 seconds.
Keaton, I beg for you, boy.
I beg for me. It's been a week. I haven't been able to say this for a week, but I'm here today to tell you, regardless, as ironic as it may sound, or it may be, today is a good day to have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shah. Thank you, Mr. Lee Singh. Folks, he said it himself. Put your best foot forward. Have that good day. We will see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN.
I am Rondell Donowa, and you are watching WESN, the content capital. People really want